Mabuhay, Kamustika, welcome. How are you? This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. Know what you want and need with a Filipina. I have been ruminating lately over some insights from a trial lawyer, a divorce lawyer actually, named James J. Sexton. Today I'm beginning a multi-part series from excerpts from this book. No, there's nothing to worry about in our marriage. Subscribe to Love Beyond the Sea, where I also want to help prevent the breakup of a marriage to a Filipina. I always want to see your comments and hope you will tap the bell for notifications of the next video. I will put the link to the article I am gleaning this from, as well as a link to his book. Keep the comments coming. The other night I was in bed with Aiza, and a few of the things I read made me get her attention and say, "Wow, hon, take a look at these guys' comments." Now I got to get rid of a comment there. It was like when you hear a song for the first time and already know you're in love with it. I wanted to share some of the things from his book because I agree with them and they fit right in with my philosophy on Love Beyond the Sea. And this is from the Newark Star Ledger. James J. Sexton's book is a delightful surprise. Sexton is not offering the usual how to have a happy marriage book, but rather a how not to divorce book. Sexton doesn't judge. People fall in love, then life interferes and marriages dissolve. And when they do, you want a clear-eyed lawyer in your corner. However, perhaps reading his book could avoid that meeting. And his book is called If You're in My Office, It's Already Too Late. In it, he says, I've had a ringside seat to countless ruined or doomed from the start relationships. After 2 decades of performing this profoundly intimate service for so many ex-spouses-to-be, as well as for people in myriad other relationship permutations, e.g. living together, having a child in common, the sheer bulk of these observations has turned into a wisdom of sorts. Now, the writer of the article says the interview in the article starts with this: define a good marriage. Go ahead. I dare you. No vague platitudes either. It's not easy, is it? Honestly, it's not even a fair question because every person's definition would be different. In fact, your own definition would almost certainly change at different points in your life. Before kids, after kids, during retirement, etc. But we rarely answer this question, and rarer still is getting clear on the answer with your spouse. Does tying your happiness to the achievement of an undefined goal seem like a very good strategy to you? Now, from If You're in My Office, It's Already Too Late. If you thought long and hard about what marriage means, congratulations. You're different from many of my clients. What roles specifically will you play in this person's life and they in yours? What do you get in exchange for doing this? What's the job description of marriage? I have learned over and over that marriages and other committed relationships fail for 2 fundamental reasons. 1, you don't know what you want, and 2, you can't express what you want. End of story. It's strange to me, sad actually, that the first time people ask themselves these questions is quite often in my office when they're in the process of crumpling up the future that wasn't. Isn't this inquiry something that married people should be doing on a regular basis, individually and especially together? In simply talking things out with me, often brutally but clearly and in detail, my clients gain a real sense of how they define generic, vague terms such as success, happiness, and security, often for the first time in their adult life. When is the last time you and your spouse discussed what it specifically means to be happy and how you each define that term? What role specifically will you play in this person's life and they in yours? What do you get in exchange for doing this? What's the job description of marriage? Now, this is me talking. When I met my wife online, I was actually pretty quick to tell her that I wanted a biblical marriage, which is to try to love each other selflessly within defined roles of the husband being the head and responsible for the well-being of the marriage, and a wife to submit to that headship. I invest my life in her good, for her good, and she is my helper. Please check out my live stream about what submission is and what it isn't in the description box. My point is, for us, I needed a wife who was committed to doing her best to follow this, and I understand this is difficult and will not be perfect, but that's got to be our goal. I would be doing a lot of giving to her, and in return, I need her help and respect. I needed her to follow me. I want her to trust I only want what's for her good. And from the book again, he says, I have learned over and over that marriages and other committed relationships fail for two fundamental reasons. One, you don't know what you want, and two, you can't express what you want. End the story. Now, me again, I told this little woman I got engaged to in 18 days that I had 3 basic needs that were unfulfilled as a single man: companionship, touch, intimacy. I don't think there's much of a surprise there. I didn't describe in much detail the kinds of things I wanted to do together. I just wanted to do it together. Aiza bought something we have in our house that says, "Together is my favorite place to be," which perfectly describes how I felt back then and still do. Touch just means I want to be affectionate to her, like PDA. I will link a video for that too. And I need it also. The intimacy part is I still wanted physical intimacy. Whether you disclose this in your profile or open up with a Filipina, you are responsible for describing the roles of each, what you are giving, and what you need to receive. I didn't want to shackle Aiza. I want her to work for her family. I want her to feel the amount of independence that she feels she needs, while maintaining that I have these several basic needs which I reinforce from time to time. She said to me that marrying me and coming to America was very important to her so she could help her family, and she didn't expect me to do all of this, for her. I wasn't upset with her because I understand that's important. She always said she wanted to work, so I understood from what I knew of the Filipino culture that she would want to help her family. That didn't make me feel unappreciated or ignored. I accepted that, but I also communicated the needs that I had, and if she could do that, I would be happy. In his book, he says, when is the last time you and your spouse discussed what it specifically means to be happy and how you would define that term? Now, my thoughts, I agree it is helpful to discuss what exactly is meant by success, happiness, and security, at least the best you can. It is easier for me to have something practical in place that I can evaluate. I'm not expecting perfection in these areas because I know that can't happen. If both of us feel our needs are reasonably being met, we are reasonably happy, and we believe our marriage is getting stronger as time goes by, then I will be pleased with that. I will have another video about Mr. Sexton's book. If you're in my office, it's already too late. Knowing exactly what you want and need and being able to express it isn't a simple process. Take your time to be sure. Soon we'll talk about being explicitly honest with your Filipina wife. There is some important preparation before seeking love beyond the sea.